Hi, this is Malcolm McDowell. You're watching Without Your Head. I mean, head as in what kind of head are we talking?
This one.
Yeah.
Oh, this one. Okay, so it's clear. Okay.
All right. We're live here on Facebook with Without Your Head, the Station of Decapitation. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm with all the good people here of Echoes of Fear. We have the directors, Lo, Avenet-bradley, Brian Avenet-bradley, who's the director and writer, Trista Robinson, wave, hello.
Hi.
Elif, Savas, the entity.
Ooh.
Scared. And Benedikt Brydern, the composer. That's very cool to have the composer here.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah. So first of all, Echoes of Fear, I got to see on the at the festival scene before it, went to video on demand, and now it's on Blu-ray, which you can get the autographed Blu-ray over on the Dark Delicacies website. This is very exciting.
Yeah.
How did
Yes.
When did you first decide, think of the story? We're gonna make this movie.
Well, it's weird. It's like we actually the story started coming about before our previous film, Malignant. We actually bought this house and we moved into it. And within the first year, all these kind of like weird, spooky, scary things happened in the house. And I kind of jotted them all down and we talked about it. But we went on to make Malignant instead because I didn't know what the story was. I just had this like interesting first act, but I didn't know where the story went. And then we came across two other true stories and realized that we could take those events, combine it with our real experiences in the house, and make it a story. And I'm assuming everyone's already watched the movie, or if you haven't, watch it and then come back and watch the podcast. But basically, the other two true stories was there's our area where we live in Eagle Rock / Highland Park here in Los Angeles, California, actually was the site of where there's some murders from the Hillside Stranglers, which turned out to be Hillside Strangler, which they later learned was actually Hillside Stranglers because they were serial killer cousins, which sounds like a really bad sitcom. They're cousins.
Very good.
And then the other thing we learned, and then the other thing we learned about was what's called the ghost rapes of Bolivia, where it basically dealt with these people who were gassing people in their homes, and they weren't killing them, but they were raping them at night, and the people would wake up the next day and not realize what had happened. But they had memories of, they could tell that they had been assaulted, and they had these horrible kind of memories, like dreams of the event, and everyone was calling them ghost rapes. And it actually took them years to figure out what was going on. So that true event, the serial killer true events, which some of it happened in our area, including the Night Stalker actually has a victim near here as well, combined with a traditional ghost story in a haunted house, which is kind of what we had actually experienced here in this house. So
that was helpful to combine, the experiences to make it more interesting, to make the story fuller.
Yeah. So once we realized how to blend those together, that's really where the movie came about. And then it was just a matter of like doing the scripts and finding the cast and the great crew and figuring how to execute it.
Yeah. What made Trista right for the role of Alisa?
Trista should answer that.
That's right. Well, we had worked with Trista on Malignant, and she had a very, very small part, but that she was really amazing in that small part. And we were like, we need to work with Trista again because she can do like some incredible stuff. So basically we thought first of she has a very big range, and she could carry the arc of her character through all these different ways in Echoes. And so anyway, we approached her to see if she'd be interested.
So basically we wrote the part thinking of her, and then we started auditioning Trista without telling her we wrote the part for her.
Right.
Because we didn't want to, we wanted, to make sure that our instincts were right. And from the audition process, we were like, yes, absolutely, she could do this role like we thought she could. And it's so critical because basically we see everything through her eyes. So the audience isn't connected with her character and empathetic with her character and following her in the journey solving the mystery, the movie doesn't work. So it's like, I mean, there are lead roles and then there are lead roles. And this is like one of those movies where like she's in almost every scene. So it's like so important for the audience to go along with her journey.
What interested you about the role, Trista?
Well, thank you guys for letting me have Alisa and saying those nice things. I'm a horror fan, as you know. I'm treacherous, Trista, and but I read a lot of scripts and I watch a lot of horror movies, and I hadn't read anything like this. I thought it was very unpredictable. I thought it was very challenging. I like arcs, so this character as well as the story in and of itself have big arcs. Also, as Brian said, I had worked with them previously, so I was very excited to work with them again.
Yeah. Now, Elif, did you know Lo and Brian before?
Yes, I've been friends with them for a long time. I know them. I know their work before this one. I know them very well.
So
go on, sorry.
Well, what's interesting about Elif is she started doing this physical theater at Zombie Joe's, and we had never seen her, perform like this before. So we started seeing some of her shows, going to check her out. And then when we started working on the story, I kept thinking of Elif. I was like, I think Elif to totally be this ghost. There's something about her. I don't know. I know she hadn't done a lot of features at that time. It was mainly more theater, but I was like, I felt like she can just, there's something, she can bring to the movie. And she did, she did an amazing job.
Well, it's interesting because the character is a ghost, so it's scary on one level, but it's also not really an evil character. So is that hard to play where you're both, you have to be scary on at some part, but you're also, the character is actually, not an evil being?
I think a ghost being either evil or being helpless and looking for answers, those are big cliches. In this character, it is not a cliched entity. It has its own personality. It's not evilish, or it is not this or that. It's almost like a human, like it's more complicated than just being a ghost. She's not a ghost. She's a person who was killed that turned into a ghost. She's not like a Walmart ghost, like you would pick one character and here's your classic ghost. She's not that. Yeah.
Now, how about the makeup? Had you ever done a lot of makeup before?
We had an amazing makeup artist for that, and she had the greatest patience, and she's great talented. And what makes the difference between that kind of a person putting your makeup on versus anybody else is that she's in such a good mood all the time and so positive. No matter how many hours you're sitting there, it doesn't matter. You adore her work, and you don't mind being there for like 8 hours, 10 hours. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's a very positive feeling. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I have had makeup on my face many times because I do live theater. But this has been a movie, we could afford more detailed makeup, and she's an amazing artist, really, really dedicated with her work. So it was a great experience.
Mm-hmm. Now, Benedikt. Sorry, Brian.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say her name's Renee Goodhue, and we had met her. She did the special effects makeup on a previous film, Malignant, as well. And what Elif was saying about face makeup, I mean, basically, we had some nights, one night in particular, where Elif was in her full body makeup that Renee actually applied. So Elif had to go through like the full makeup application, which took a long time, and then she had to do the full shoot with it. And we knew that was a really big makeup. So we actually had scheduled like almost all the full body versions of her entity would be shot that night. So it was a very long night, especially after that, very long makeup application. So Elif was a real, not only did she give a great performance, but she was a real trooper to be able to not only go through the makeup process, but then also keep the energy and give the performance as well. So great job.
How about the actual look of the entity? Were you guys hands-on on that, or was the makeup artist, was that his design?
Yeah. I mean, basically, I talked with Renee about it, and I basically, did a search and kind of found different things I liked. Like, I like the texture of this. I like kind of the look of the eyes here. I like the blackness of the mouth. I kind of like, the coloring of this. And then we did some makeup tests with Elif. So we actually did some tests of the makeup and, came up with what the color should look like in a particular texture that I really liked that looked really great with Lowe's cinematography and lighting. But the trick of that texture is it's really meticulous to put on. Because we had a discussion about whether we would make more of a costume that she could actually put on. But we really wanted the makeup to be very close to her skin so you could see Elif's performance. So it was directly applied. And because of that, it was a very long process. It wasn't like a mask or anything like that. There were some pieces that went on, but so much of it was actually applied like when we shot, like right onto the skin itself. And it's very detailed with the little openings in the skin. It's very detailed makeup.
It was almost like a sculpture on my own body. And of course, I had to stand up for it because it's my back, my front, everything was completely done. Everything took hours. And it was a piece of art. Like, you turn into a piece of art. You're never going to complain about, oh, I need to use the bathroom, or I need to sit. Because you're turning into this glorious thing that she has in her mind. So, I mean, I had a great time.
Yeah. Once you saw yourself in the full makeup, did that put you in a different, mindset of how you're going to play the character?
Yes.
Well, wait, Elif, could you even see yourself in the full makeup? Because didn't the contacts go in earlier?
Yeah.
Could you even see yourself?
So what happened is I had these milky contact lenses, which during the shoot turned completely red. So I really did not see myself. So you have to feel yourself from within. But the makeup being so tight on your skin helps you feel that frustration of the ghost a little bit. It's not comfortable. And that actually puts it like this is not a ghost that is just having a field time, like just going, ooh. It is trying to connect with her, with somebody, trying to tell something. She's in urgency. So everything being so tight on your face and body and you being uncomfortable, probably it added to my acting, I should say.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, going to what you were saying earlier, Neil, about her being, a good ghost or an evil ghost, one of the things we really wanted to do was make people not be sure about that in the beginning. Because her character, Elif's character, the entity, we find out later that entity is wanting something, but the way she goes about trying to communicate is such a violent act because she's in such pain and torment because of what's happened to her, that in the beginning you can read it, and hopefully I think the audience does read it in the beginning as being more of an evil entity ghost, because so often ghosts now in movies, they become these like demon ghosts, where like people are kind of almost programmed now that ghosts are evil. So we kind of wanted to play off that in the script, where you would be thinking like, oh, maybe this is one of those demon ghosts that's an evil ghost. And then, of course, as it goes on, it becomes a more traditional ghost, you realize, where the ghost is wanting something, but it's trying to communicate the only way it can, which comes across as very violent. And I think Elif did a great job playing that, which you kind of see that other side of her later in the movie, when she's able to finally make connection. You get to see that other part of her performance. Yeah.
What were those scenes like that act in Trista when you're communicating with the entity?
Well, Elif is very scary, what she wants to be, because she's a good actress. So similar to what she was saying about the makeup sort of lending itself to her performance. A lot of times they say acting is reacting, you know, and Elif just made it very easy.
Yeah. Now you yourself are into ghost hunting or supernatural. So, well, first of all, did you actually do that at Brian and Lo's house? Did you search for the ghosts that they had?
No, that's a good question. While we're shooting, you know, we're too busy working, you know,
Sure.
and I'm very focused. But I am a good friend and collaborator of Brian and Lo, so I stay there a lot of the time, and I stay in Alisa's room, and I'm always a little too scared. They have a nightlight for me. So,
Oh, really? All right.
yeah, I'm not
Well, that's
so
nice of them. Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it's
you're
actually on the Blu-ray. We actually put Trista's there, Benedikt's there, Elif's there, Hannah, the co-female lead. They actually came back to the house, and we did like this 55-minute behind-the-scenes extra where we kind of go through things, and we kind of talked about the experiences that we had in the house that inspired the movie to begin with. And as I talked in that, was about the female entity, dark form, almost like a dark shadow shape that I've experienced. But I thought everything had gone back to complete normality, and I was really excited about that. Even though we're quarantining right now, I'm like, nothing has happened. Great. The other night, and Lo can attest to this.
Already I could play.
Yeah,
I could play the audio.
No, don't play the audio.
From the outside security camera, you can hear Brian.
Yeah, I basically screamed my head off because I woke up and there was a shape by the bed, but for the first time, it wasn't a female shape. It was like a really large, I guess I knew it was a man or I mean, at least I have masculine is what you think about, but it's like, it was very large and huge shoulders, but all black. You couldn't even see the arms. It was like a shape of a head, and then the shoulders come down, and then I'm like screaming my head off, and then I look this way, and then there's another one like at the foot of the bed. And that was the first time I'd seen that, and that was bad. That was a bad one.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't want to know.
I actually never told her what I saw because she never wants to hear it.
You have to get an extra nightlight next time Trista comes over.
I know. Every time I'm there, they're like, "Don't worry, there's nothing." And then I hear stories like this. I'm like, "What?"
I think what is the greatest thing about them all, Trista and Brian and Lawrence, is they've been doing horror for a long time, yet they can be spooked very easily. and I love that because, I love that they're not like, been there, done that, blood, schmut, whatever. Like, they're not like that. They're really fresh.
Yeah.
So they're literally living every moment of it, which is adorable and so much fun to work with. I think Trista screaming her head off a lot made lots of shooting lots of fun.
Yeah. Now, Benedikt, I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Want to hear Brian?
Yes, I would like to hear that.
It's not a good scream.
Wait, it's coming.
It's building the tension here.
Did you hear?
Yeah.
That's outside.
It's a horrible scream. We will be looping that. We'll be looping that in post and replacing it with a much better scream.
That was from outside audio.
But what happens is like you're just in this panic state. You're just in this absolute horror panic state. And honestly, it's weird because I got used to the female shapes. So it's like I would see the female shape. It's like, oh, there's the female shape sitting on the foot of the bed. Okay. You know, and you look at it for a while, like, okay, everything's cool. So I don't know if this is like a new stage because whoever puppeteers this stuff is like, well, that one's not working anymore. Send in the big guy. Because it was like completely different. It was like completely different. I wasn't ready for that. It was different.
Mm-hmm. Maybe you're setting up for the sequel. I don't know.
I don't know.
So, Benedikt, how did you get involved?
Well, you know, I started working with Brian and Lo about 12 years ago on a movie they they'd call Dark Remains, which is also a, ghost story. And so we kicked it off and we got along and stayed friends. And, Brian contacted me again about this movie. And of course, I love that genre. I'm a violinist myself. And when I was a student back home in Germany, I actually played violin on Christopher Young's Hide in the House score. And I'm a big fan of the Hellraiser scores and all those classics, right? So I just worked with Brian and Brian is very specific. He knows exactly what he wants, right? In one way or another. And it's all about finding the right tone and the atmosphere. And it's like an invisible actor. That's what scoring is, right? Mm-hmm. So we are there. We are running around behind the scenes. Sometimes we make a little more noise, sometimes not too much. And so we've been working hands-on on this. And I've done stuff I usually don't do. I like melodies. I like piano, violin, strings. I hope Brian does a romantic comedy next, so I can do something different. But it has been a great time.
Do you see the finished movie before you do the score?
Well, we start with a rough cut usually. I mean, I read the script sometimes, but the script can be misleading because then in my mind, I start making up scenes and things, and later I look at it and say, wait a minute, this is blue, or this is at the, So I want to see a movie. I want to see the pacing. And so Brian shows me a rough cut pretty much that is pretty close what he wants to do. And he's one of the rare directors, I got to mention, who does not put in some temporary music. It's rare because most people nowadays with the editor put in some stuff already to test. And when you as a composer get that, you're like, okay, that works, that's interesting. Brian gives me like a blank movie just to get an impression. And no, seriously, that's a rare thing. You don't get that many times nowadays.
Do you prefer that?
And there's a reason for that. Because I edited the movie as well. And what I've learned as an editor, because I edit TV stuff as well, is basically if you put a temp score on something and then you listen to it 3 or 4 times, that's all it takes with that temp score. Anything that's not that piece of music is not going to sound right to you anymore. Something happens when you watch an image married with the sound and you see it 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times, your brain connects the two. And what happens a lot of times, if you start with the temp score, you get used to the temp score. And then when you give it to the composer, you basically are psychologically forcing the composer to basically mimic the temp score. So you're eliminating the composer's ability to bring something original and creative to the table because you've limited him that way. So what I find is, number one, the other thing is, if you edit everything without any music on it, it really makes you fine-tune the edit and the pacing of the picture and the flow of the movie. Because lots of times you could have a scene that's not that good yet in terms of editing, maybe it's not refined, but you put a piece of music on it and you watch and go, oh, that's fine. Oh, that works. But the key is, can you make the edit work with no music whatsoever? Can you make the scenes flow in and out of each other and the pace and the rhythms work with no music? And then when I get to see Benedikt start putting music on it, it's like it's this wonderful experience because then it just is coming alive to this new level. And I love that part.
Did your editing ever change depending on the score? Since it's a rough cut?
I tend to, this is why I don't use needle drop music. I tend to really lock the picture. It's how we've always done it. It take a long time to lock the picture. It's not like a quick lock. We'll do an edit. It'll sit for a while. We'll do a rough cut, a fine cut 2, a lock cut 2, lock cut 3, lock cut 4. We'll keep refining the edit before the score. And sometimes before, those final edits, I'll let Benedikt get started. But I find it's best for me to have the movie flow and tell the story the way it wants visually first and have the music. And that's, Benedikt, you should talk about this, but to me, that's the real impressive thing that a scorer does of a movie as opposed to writing songs. A true composer like Benedikt is able to ride his cues and transition and bring you from scene to scene so it becomes like a nice flow. And if you were just, doing the music first, you may not get that. By him doing the music second, he's like basically weaving perfectly the movie together. So hopefully when you watch the movie, you don't even think about the music, which is what, to me, that's what a really great score is. Is like you're watching the movie and you're in the movie and you're not even thinking like, oh, that's a great score. Because if you're doing that, something's probably wrong, if you're listening to it that way. But Benedikt, you should talk about that.
No, you're absolutely right. I keep it short. We have to deal with temp tracks all the time because it adds comfort to the producers and to the studios, right? They spend a lot of money on the big pictures. So when they edit and it's working already, with some temp score, they feel very secure. But then what Brian said, it comes to the composer. And then the composer has a problem because, again, he has a score and they put in Star Wars, and then you have to imitate that. How can you, right? So you want to be original, for instance, right? I think composers, we do both. We adjust to the picture. That's our job, right? Sometimes when the music itself, like in animation, is so well done or it flows in a certain way, the animators might change their animation to that to make it happen. Also, when you watch E.T., the most famous scene is the flying bicycle scene, right? And John Williams wrote a very melodic moment, right? We all know how that goes with the melodies. And Steven Spielberg actually cut out like 5 seconds for an edit. And they had to cut the music out, and they said, you know what, it doesn't flow in the music anymore if we cut that out. So actually Spielberg made an adjustment to the music because he loved it so much the way the music went. But those are exceptions. In general, I like working when the picture is done, hopefully, so I can actually make those transitions smooth and as elegant. But musical, as we know, there are forms, also music and phrases, and I want to keep them in, but that's my job, to make them fit.
Yeah. I know Elif mentioned that the movies doesn't do a lot of cliches that you see in a lot of ghost movies, or whatever. And one of the things I like is that the two characters, right away, they pretty much just go with that this is a ghost. You don't have half the movie where they're debating, is this a ghost or is this our imagination, which I've seen a million times and I don't need to see again. So I assume that was intentional. And is there any story with the glass stone that's in the movie that's given to the friend to Elise? There it is.
Well, Elif can talk about that.
Yeah, Elif, you know all about.
Yeah, that is a Eastern Mediterranean culture. Also in Italy too. It goes all the way to Spain. It's called an evil eye. It is blue. It looks like an eye. And the belief is that too much attention, positive or negative, jealousy or yearning of another person will bring you bad luck, even if that person wants it for good intentions. So you put that on your shirt or on your body or in your house to attract that energy into that. So that's what an evil eye is. Lots of children wear it. I have it in the house. Some people in their cars will have it. And I find it what is most interesting is that even a good energy can hurt you because it is causing so much jealousy around in the universe. So it's a kind of like an interesting thing which they have now. I mean, Trista has it, right?
Yeah, Trista has it.
Yeah.
So
we have ours too. Yeah. We have ours as well.
Well, we liked it because Elif actually gave one to us as a gift before. So we were like, this is kind of cool.
Oh yeah, she gave it to us, and then it fell and broke, and I freaked out. So I'm contacting Elif, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? It broke. Are we in trouble? Because the evil eye broke. And Elif can talk about that.
Yeah, but when it breaks, it means that it did its job. So there was some kind of an energy around them, and an evil eye somehow just took it in to itself and broke. So it's not actually a bad thing. It did what it's supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So was that in the original script, or was this something you added because Elif?
Well, I mean, it was something that we were toying with in the original script. But after we put together the first rough cut, we actually wanted to draw out. We actually did some private screenings with some other filmmakers whose opinions I really trust and can watch a real rough cut, because most people can't. It's very difficult to watch a real rough cut, especially with no score. And one of the things that people were talking about was they wanted to bring out a little bit more Hannah Race's character, Steph, to understand a little bit earlier her connection kind of with like you said, that they go with it right away. Part of the reason they go with it right away is her character, because she's kind of into like, oh yeah, ghosts and spirits and karma and that kind of thing. So they wanted to know that about her character right away. So we actually added the scene with her giving her the Narzulik later. And then at the same time, we wanted to bring it back. So we wrote in the scene with it breaking, because it happens at a very key part in the movie where the movie takes its turn. And I'm like, well, that's perfect. We can harken back to that Narzulik and the breaking based on what Elif had told us about the energy and all that. Is like, it's a great way of kind of signifying that we're moving into something else now. So a lot of things that Elif gave us actually worked its way in the movie. The little box which held the fingernail clippings, that's something Elif gave us.
You see, I'm like putting my energy into their movie.
Yeah, I like it. Yeah. I also like there's not like a ton of exposition of what things are, because that can, that's always annoying, I think, in a movie. It's just, it's there, and, the characters aren't just explaining it for 5 minutes, like what the stone is or anything.
Yeah, it's like an Easter egg, almost. Like if you want to know about it, you can go ahead and check and Google or whatever, but you don't have to.
Right, and it doesn't affect, you still know what's going on in the movie either way. Yeah.
Even if you don't know exactly what it is, I think you still kind of subconsciously pick up what it's doing in a story device, even if you don't know exactly what it is name-wise. But that's something that Lo and I worked really hard on. You want to talk about that, was like trying to tell the story visually without a lot of dialogue.
Yeah. That's
something that was very important.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to go into that. We really I broke down the whole story, so how can visually we can move the story along and how we can help some stuff. So it was, I kind of broke up the whole script into moments and how these moments can be expressed. Like sometimes in the script, maybe it was night and I was like, I don't think we should be night yet there. So we would change a few things in the script just to keep that lighting flowing and the movement.
Well, that's the thing is, like, even if we went back to the same environment, you always work on having a different lighting or different look or different style of shooting.
Yeah, I didn't know. We've done other movies before where we've learned, I guess, different things. And one of the things I like to do is, if I go back to this dining room, for example, well, I like it to be from a different area, from a different angle, so we see something else.
A different light.
So people feel like they're discovering something new, and they've been there, but they are finding some kind of surprise. So we worked hard on that, devising, because we had to come back to some areas a bunch of times, sometimes.
Right, and that's one of the reasons. That's where a lot of the things would get worked into the script and would inform me as a writer. Like, that's how things come into being, like the lantern. Like, going, okay, we've done enough with flashlights, with iPhone flashlights, we've done that look. So now we're going to bring in a lantern. So we can change the whole look and feel of how you're lighting yourself in a dark place at night. And a lot of that's from Lo wanting to, like, change the light, the candle, with the candle and all those things. So.
Yeah, we just try different things. So it's changing. It changes, and then it takes... people have a different feel. They feel the movie differently with the different scenarios.
But it's also how you devise the style of shooting with it, with the mobile gimbal stuff versus the handheld stuff later when things get more. I mean, if you want to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, we got sometimes we would add a little more movement with the gimbal, just slight little movements.
Well, there's a lot of movement.
Or a lot of gimbal. Yeah. But they're like, sometimes it's big, like running up the stairs, like full speed, or what else? What did we do? A lot of handheld, like slight handheld.
I mean, that was a big thing.
Dollies.
We've always done the movies together, but this is the first one that we co-directed. And one of the things that Lo really wanted was, I tend to like kind of zero in on the scare moments and the suspense moments. I get really big into that, and then I'm like, okay, well, this is dialogue. We got to shoot this quick so I can spend more time on that. And Lo was very much in this movie. He's like, no, the little dialogue sections need to have the same kind of flow and mood and feel as the suspense scary section. So that was something that you were very adamant about.
I felt like that was a pretty good compliment.
Yeah. So. Yay, love.
So I've actually been on a movie set with Trista, and I know she's a very physical actor. Was this movie very physical? 'Cause you're in the basement.
Yeah, for me, it was very physical. Yeah, obviously, I did all that stuff myself, and I like that. I like being physical, similar to what Elif was saying. I think those sorts of things really contribute to your performance. You know, if you're really doing it, you're going to have some real reactions. So I love doing it. And obviously, when you're shooting, you're doing it a lot of times. And I now that you say it, it's funny, I miss it. I miss they felt hard. They felt really grueling sometimes, but I miss it. It was a lot of fun. I like doing it.
Yeah. And Elif, I mean, your character is all going up and down steps and on all four stuff. So was it a physically demanding role?
Yes. You know, what it comes to it is that they trusted me and I trusted them, meaning that some things maybe you wouldn't ask other actors to do because they might be scared or they might complain about it or they might have an attitude like, I don't want to run up that fast and it's going to hurt my pinky and what if I fall? And thankfully they really 100% trusted me. They said, do you want to do this? Yes. You sure? Yes, let's go for it. So there was not much drama happening, which makes it all a big pleasure. I mean, I don't remember anything that was like, oh my God, I can't believe I did that. It was all lots of fun. It was in my capabilities. And we were always like, could we? Yeah, let's try it. So we did it. It's the teamwork, you know? So I can't really tell you that it was physically demanding because we wanted to do something and it didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it was physically demanding or what, it's not. You're not even thinking of that anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if you're in Los Angeles, go see Elif in one of these close proximity theater pieces she does, and you will just. I can't watch them because I'm so scared she's going to hurt herself. I mean, what she does. I mean, and she does this night after night after night. It's not like in a movie where you just do it one time, maybe one is a safety, and you're done. She'll do this night after night after night, this really physical performance. And it's almost, for me, terrifying to watch because I know Elif and I'm scared she's going to get hurt.
Well,
but it's amazing.
Yeah, I think last time I broke two teeth here, two of them. Yeah,
you
unfortunately.
Did?
Yeah, and broke a toe, but it's like, I don't care.
Now, to clarify, that's the theater, not the movie. It's not our movie. That's the theater.
Yeah.
They're very fearless. These are very fearless people.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, yeah.
They really are.
Except for, Brian screaming, but besides that,
I think that's what makes Brian so special, that he is still able to scream instead of just being like, oh, the same old, you know.
Right.
Yeah, but if I auditioned that scream, it would be like, next. That would, wouldn't go anywhere.
Brian.
Yeah, the Scream King, Brian.
Maybe if I was in a horror, you know what? If I was in a horror comedy, that would be a great scream. Horror comedy, maybe.
Uh-huh.
That would be good.
Yeah. I also like that the entity and like the jump scares would normally you'd see it and then it would disappear and that would be the end of it for the next 20 minutes or something. You stick with the entity, so you see it if you jump and then it keeps going. And I remember when I saw it for the first time in the theater, it really affected the audience, which was an awesome time to see it in the theater. Buffalo Dreams Fantastic Film Festival.
It was all the. I mean, we played in like 18 festivals around the world, and we tried to get to like 6 or 7 of the screenings in person at least. And it was just always amazing to watch the audience reactions. And even though the movie was done at that point, I was still in the back, standing up, making notes for the future. So it was like very interesting to see like what works and how people react.
Yeah, but you have to be careful with that because
I'm in the back.
No, because some areas of the country react differently.
Yes.
So you can't think that, okay, maybe, in the East Coast or Southeast, it's people are reacting this way, and then on the West Coast, it's just different.
But the big scary moments, though, pretty much transferred pretty much over across the board. What was interesting was watching with the festival audience is we tried to do a lot of surprises, and there weren't necessarily scares in my brain. They're more like a surprise, just so you wouldn't know what was going to happen next. And in some audiences would like freak out even bigger at something that I didn't even think of as being scary. And they were like freaked out, maybe because we had wound the tension so much that people were kind of like so on the edge of their seat that they were kind of like reacting to things that in my book wasn't something I was expecting reaction from. So that was kind of rewarding and surprising when I would see it in the theater with a festival audience like that and see them like react to something like, oh, it was great.
I think
but
what makes it work
sure
is
that the scare was organic to the story and it moved the story forward. And
there is something very organic about the movie. That's what I was going to say. It's like there's really very little CGI. I couldn't get my head cut, unfortunately, myself, so they had to use CGI. But it's a very organic movie, and it is very moody. So I think it's really easy to get the audience from the neck and like pull, like jerk it off suddenly, and they're like, if it is blah 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 blah, and lots of CGI, then the audience is like, okay, bring it on. So it becomes a challenge when here audience is really like honestly investing in it. It's different.
Yeah. Trista, when you talked about the story arc for your character, because you start off kind of not really meek, but meeker than you do at the end of the movie. But I would think that as an actor, it would be harder to play the middle part of an arc of a character, because you can't just be like a switch, like you're at this level, then you're on this level, just automatically. You have to the arc to work in a movie. I think you'd have to progress to that.
Yeah, I would definitely credit Brian Lowe with that, because I have distinct memories of Bri, especially being like, it has to be believable. I do a lot of horror, so I'm eager to like go crazy. I want to I'm ready to get like intense. So I think Brian was definitely on top of me about the pace of taking things incrementally. And I'm glad, that's what a director does. I need the guidance because I show up ready to work, and I'm grateful to have good direction. They really paced it out. They were similar to my voice. We modified my voice, and sometimes when you're in it, you can't tell as much, and no matter how committed you are. And so it's really helpful to have amazing directors that are monitoring everything and on top of everything. And we were very diligent about where I was in the arc, in the story, because of course you're shooting out of sequence. And they were also very diligent about monitoring my voice, and because sometimes if I got emotional or excited, I would kind of lose the correct cadence,
Benedikt,
we wanted to sorry, go on.
No, you go on.
Well, I was going to say was we worked with Trista a lot before we started shooting, and thank you, Trista, for crediting us so much for that. But we were doing a lot of this work with Trista prior to shooting, like sitting down, and she had her script, and she was taking very careful notes in her script, so she had a very good sense of her homework was done, where she knew where her character was, so she was able to reference that a lot on the shoot as well, because we had talked it through, and she had kind of learned that as we went. And we just kind of wanted to work with her, and Trista was so game on it, on kind of creating a little bit of a different character than Trista had played before, because she does amazing horror work and plays a bunch of different characters in some great horror movies. And we wanted to basically have Trista, but craft this character of Alisa that would be something a little different than what Trista had been called upon to do before. And I just think she did an amazing job. We were very happy.
Yeah. So I just want to say people are watching this live here, and there's no questions, but a lot of people are saying that they love the movie. Peggy Small says much love to Trista. Bill Whedon says hello. Brilliant movie. Alexis from Greece says greetings from Greece, and they love the movie.
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. So what has the feedback been
you.
like for Echoes of Fear?
Well, the feedback starting from the festivals was just amazing. I mean, our first festival we played was Shriek Fest in LA. And the very next night we played Women in Horror on the East Coast, which is crazy. But the first showing was at Shriek Fest, the world premiere in LA. And Trista and I were sitting in the Lo was off working, shooting something else, unfortunately. But Trista and I were sitting in the very back of the theater. And we were kind of on pins and needles because we couldn't really necessarily tell in the dark, how it was going over. But at the end, it was like everyone really loved it. And that was great. But some of the other festival screenings we saw, which Lo got to go to as well, is like you have different, they're much more vocal. And when you have a more vocal audience reaction, because some audiences get really scared and they're kind of like bringing it in like this. And then other audiences are kind of like scared and they're like letting it out like that. So it's like, it's interesting to see it, how it plays with the different audiences. But we've had like pretty much great feedback from the actual people seeing it in the festivals, and people have watched it on the Blu-ray and VOD. And, we've had, overall, like really, really positive reviews.
Yeah. I feel like people have been pleasantly surprised, not really being sure what they're going to be watching, because there's a lot of indie movies. So, you never know. You never know what is it going to be. But I think overall, they're pleasantly surprised.
Yeah.
Like they didn't expect the scares. A lot of time people said, oh my gosh, I haven't jumped in my sofa in ages. And says, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah, when you can get a hardcore jaded horror, and that was the biggest thing I felt good about was they were basically had some people come up who were horror, because at a horror festival you get a bunch of different type of horror films, and there's different horror audiences. And there were some people who were like, oh, I don't like ghost haunted house ghost movies.
I'm actually one of those people. I don't really like haunted house movies, but I really like
the movie.
Yeah,
exactly. I mean, when someone like that who doesn't like that type of movie still likes the movie, then you feel like you've accomplished something. And then, Elif, it's kind of weird. It's like Elif is Turkish, and we've been having a great, overseas release of the movie, and it ended up getting played on 105 screens in Turkey, which I never
in the Cineplex.
In the Cineplex, and I was like, I never would have believed that was going to happen.
That was kind of surreal.
And they used the poster where you could really see Elif really well. Our festival poster, they basically used that in Turkey.
Yeah.
So it was great.
And it is not a Turkish connection. I mean, I had no idea they were showing it. Actually, Laurence let me know they are showing it in Turkey. Did you know? I had no idea. So I guess, and they didn't even know the entity was Turkish. They just wanted to show the movie.
Yeah. Do horror movies play there a lot? I'm sorry.
It's yes, maybe it is not like the most important movies they show. There's lots of action movies and this and that, but they show some.
Yeah.
And for some reason, this connected with them. So.
What were you saying? Yeah. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Well, what's interesting is the Turkish distributor who put the movie out in the theaters actually ended up contacted our rep and wanted to know if they have more of Echoes of Fear for Turkey, which I thought was interesting that they want more of that. They want more Echoes of Fear.
Yeah, our international distributors, Jenga Films, our international sales agent, and they actually, in one of the film markets, came to them and said, "So, you got anything like Echoes of Fear?" which is kind of cool that someone actually is like, "Oh, that's cool."
So I guess the people in Turkey are liking it, I suppose.
Yeah. And it's been it's come out in Spain and Cambodia and Australia, and it's New Zealand, and it's coming out in the UK in the fall, and the Netherlands actually is coming out in June. So it's been really gratifying to see how, and maybe it's because you work so hard to make it so visual, but it's been translating really well on the overseas market, which is great.
Mm-hmm. Now, Benedikt, you said that when Brian sends you the movie, so there's no score involved. But does he have any input, or does he just let you like see the movie and come up with your own thing?
At the beginning, I think we just talk. I know what he kind of likes a little bit, but then we try to find the tone of the picture, right? And it's different, than the other movies he's done. So I would do I would find a clip that I like, or I would start in the middle, or I don't even remember this movie. I pick a scene usually that attracts me. And I would just try to get a tone, and I send a couple versions over to Brian. So sometimes I try a dark, super dark, medium dark. It's like coffee, right? I do a light roast, medium, and a very dark. and then
I'm a dark roast guy, by the way.
Right. And then Brian will listen back and say, oh, I like that direction. This might be a good thing, what we're looking for. And then, I'm going to keep developing that. So it's like with the actor, right? He gives me also some input, of course. But he wouldn't really tell me, I don't like the clarinet doing something. Unless if it's such an instrument that is so bizarre. There was one thing I put in a whatever sound effect, and he said, that sounds like a lightsaber. I'm like, yeah, that triggers something in his mind, like being from a sci-fi movie. And I get this. When you hear a certain song, a certain harmony, you might think, oh, that's my summer back in the Hamptons, or wherever you had your summer, right? So yeah, we work together. And then I do more different versions. And usually if I have the right direction, he leaves me alone. I do my thing. So, but his comments are always welcome, and they're very good.
I do want to say, and Benedikt, if you want to talk about this, I think one of the biggest challenges you had in scoring it was the same way that the movie kind of goes through a big turn, a big build and turn into the third act. The music had to also marry that turn. So if you want to talk a little bit about that, because it's quite interesting how you change the music.
Yes, so we don't want to give away the story, right? If people haven't really
seen it. I think we probably gave away a lot already. But
at this point, well, anyway, like pretty much halfway through, we figure out there's stuff going on, and we've seen it's getting really dark and serious, And so musically, something had to happen. We couldn't just keep going. So what I did, I completely did like 180. So at the beginning, it's more, I would say, live instruments, a little more strings, more eerie sounds and stuff. And then I go really brutal. I mean, there's stuff I've never written in other scores. I mean, if you listen without the movie, you're gonna drive against the wall. I mean, this is very relentless. I think one reviewer said relentless scoring, and it's very intense. It's so intense. It's like 20 minutes of pounding it and getting more intense all the way to the end, right? So it's. I think it drove everybody crazy, But the end result, if you don't hate it, I think it's effective.
I think, but it fits the picture, so it works.
It does. It works so well, and even I had to go through some hoops to say I'm not that guy who writes those gnarly low-end synths, whatever things I did there. But you know what? It just adds to that tension, to the drama, to the story arc, and that's what my job is too. So I guess in the end, it all worked out.
Yeah. Are you a horror movie fan?
I am. I'm not too much into the slasher movies. When I know, people are going to get killed, then yeah, it can be entertaining. But you know what? When I was like 10, I sneaked into Alien #1. That scared the heck out of me when I was very young, seeing that in Germany. And the biggest thing that scared me most are those psychological horror movies. I think Eraserhead scared me the most. And there's not even a single moment of music in that movie. David Lynch, right? Yeah. Phenomenal. So no, I love them occasionally with other movies, but I love Japanese slow-boiled horror, right? When that's a different kind of vibe. Dario Argento is amazing. So I'm a fan also, but I like drama. I like other stuff as well. So.
Yeah. How does someone actually how do you get involved in like scoring movies? Like, I don't know, like how that comes about.
You know what? I think I'm a musician. I play violin, since I'm 6 years old. So I love music and I love cinema. So I've heard the big scores, John Williams, when Star Wars when you're 15, I mean, stuff like that, right? So, but at one point, I think back home in Germany, a friend of mine said, I'm doing a little short movie and I don't have any music. And you're a musician, can you do something? And I also compose. I just like noodling on the piano, making up stuff. And I just said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to try. So that's how I slipped in. I started writing customized music for friends. Mm-hmm. And then I studied here in Los Angeles at the University of Southern California with Elmer Bernstein and those guys, Bruce Broughton, Chris Young. and got more into the feature films and stuff. But I just love writing music, and it's like writing an opera. You have a plot, right? You have a great storyline, and you write something that goes with the story. It's just now for the picture, which I think is fascinating. If it works, music and motion pictures together is a great combination.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. So, Trista, when you're working with Elif and like when she's kind of doing I almost said Vulcan mind meld, but when she's like, how do you come up with like how you're going to act in those scenes? When you're not possessed, but something's entering your mind.
Right. So I'm pretty diligent. I'm hyper prepared for everything. But for those, I really, I have to say, I don't think I was. That was all pretty visceral. Yeah. Because it's all physical. It's all emotional. Those scenes, I think we filmed them all at one time. And I don't think, it was really just her holding me and I'm looking at the camera and I'm going through a little journey. But I'm not, and obviously I'm seeing stuff, but the way that we filmed it was that way. But I wasn't, I don't have an arc the way I do with like the script. That I guess what I'm saying is that was just very visceral and off the cuff and quick, and it felt very raw and organic. And I love playing off Elif. It comes very naturally to me, and I don't have to do very much. And I feel like that's the right way to go. I'm not forcing anything. It's so I second what Brian said. I've seen Elif on stage. If you can see her, go see her. She's an amazing performer. It makes my job so easy.
Yeah. Where can you see you, Elif? Where do you perform?
I do lots of performances at Zombie Joe's Underground Theater. It's a very famous theater in Los Angeles. It's a tiny theater. It's a black box, but it's like a raw, real theater. I do lots of stuff with them, and I work in an immersive theater space that is called the Count's Den. It's in downtown LA, and I am the Mother Superior Vampire of that space. We do lots of shows there, and I do other kind of theater too. I do some like normal theater when I'm not scaring the shit out of people. So I don't know, follow me on Instagram or something. I'll let you know. But I have to say one thing about working with Brian and Laurence. I've worked on many sets and many plays and many live theater, and what I learned from them is you do not need to be stressed out and pushed around to do an amazing, stressful acting. They are a pleasure to work with. They are really professional. They are very sweet to each other all the time. So, which is hard. They're a husband and wife. Can you imagine working together all the time in a tiny budget movie that they have been pushing it through for years, basically? And they are really nurturing, and they are very particular. They don't let you go away with things that you choose. They want what they want, but they don't push you to frustration. They are really amazing to work with. I don't know how they do it. I would be like, fucking booba. I would start going crazy on actors. It goes like hours of shooting under really stressful conditions. Husband and wife constantly being nice to each other and nice to everyone, taking care of everyone, cooking like food for you. I don't know how they do it, but that shows that it is possible to have a working environment that's not poisonous. So I have to say that.
Well, thanks, Elif.
Thank you. Thanks.
No, Laurence, do you always co-direct with Brian on your other movies? How does it work?
Well, no, we started on this movie. Usually, it started where I just wanted to bring Brian's vision on the screen, with the cinematography and the camera and the lighting. And then little by little, I got more involved in story. And then on this one, at first, actually, I wasn't going to co-direct originally. And but I got so involved then compared to usual.
Yeah.
So basically, we would make our decisions together on how we're gonna, story-wise, how we're gonna do the movie. And usually, even during the shoot, the way we work together is that Brian is the voice most of the time, unless he wants me to talk to the actors, but usually he's the voice. And then before the shoot, we kind of like together decides on how we're going to approach the characters and how we're going to work the story, how we're going to make it work, really. It's just very, very collaborative.
I mean, the thing is, we've always been really collaborative in all the movies. It's just, in the beginning, like she said, it was like I was a little bit more like, we're doing this, and then Lo was putting in all this input from the beginning, but every movie she started doing more and more input, and every movie got better and better with the more input that she was putting into it. So, I mean, I think when we did this one, we knew right from the beginning you were going to be really involved. We didn't know that you were going to be officially a co-director, but eventually at a certain point, as we're developing the movie, I'm like, well, you should have the title because you're doing it. Lots of times you would just take the producer title and cinematographer title, but at a certain point, it's like, well, wait, but you're really co-directing. What you're doing is way beyond what a normal cinematographer would do. So it's like, it wouldn't be fair to her not to credit her with that.
Yeah.
And it was, for me, it was like, I think Echoes of Fear is by far our best movie. I attribute a lot to Lo, and, we're working on developing other things. And now she's even more involved in the initial story, right from the get-go. I mean, initially I would do like a draft and kind of let her read it and give notes. But now it seems like we're just, even in the very beginning, of figuring out what story we're going to tell, what's the story. And it's really nice.
Yeah. I mean, even when we were talking about the music, usually Brian would be like, okay, we got Benedikt's music. And then I'd listen to it and I'd be giving my notes, I'd give my notes to Brian, and then Brian is the one who's like communicating. Because I felt like it's better to have like one voice with a person rather than like, oh no, I want to do this, or no, and this. So we kind of like, he knows if I don't like, if we're shooting, he knows if I don't like something, or I feel like something should be done a little different. And you can tell.
But it's also nice because she's officially, in this film, officially co-director. I mean, lots of times when she's shooting an actor, especially in these crawl spaces, in these tight environments, they're real locations. They look bigger than they are because she's using a wide-angle lens, but it's really cramped. And, I mean, she'll just communicate directly with the actor in those circumstances, because it's like there's no reason for her not to just directly communicate, like, I need you a little over here, a little over there, say your line 2 steps forward, do this, because it helps with the mechanics and making it work with the shot. It's just much more efficient and easier for her to have that direct communication without like going through some, it's just better. And we're very collaborative set.
We just kind of like, when we really just do everything together. I mean, we can tell if, and if we don't want to upset, because one of our things is we like to keep the set really smooth in terms of like not upsetting actors or get them out of their character. We want them to feel like they can still be in character. So we try really hard. If we have different opinions, we can certainly tell each other. So, right?
Yeah, but
it rarely happens.
But most of that we worked out.
We usually.
I mean, look, there's like a joke I used to give. Is like, I'll give a script, and that wasn't Echoes of Fear in the script, but I've given scripts in the past. And the first note pass from Lo was like giant red lines on pages, boring. So it's just like, what's great is if you can get past Lo in the scripting department. I mean, you've really accomplished something.
My view in it is I don't want to put my ideas into someone's script if they're just asking for an opinion. So I don't want to be like, no, I'm going to tell you what your script should be. I don't want to do that. So I'd rather just be more general and be like, that's not working. And then you think about what would make it work.
This is not true. And in Echoes of Fear, she was so involved in the story. I actually wanted her to take a story credit, and she wouldn't do it. And next time, she's got to be taking the story credit. She's not getting away with not taking it, because she added so many story elements. Since we're not worrying about spoilers, basically the paintings on the wall is low. The nail clippings in the case is low. The mouse is low. The basement and the rock tunnel connecting to the basement is low. So basically I had a script without any of those things. And I can't even imagine Echoes of Fear without those things in it now. It'd be inconceivable. So,
you said real location. So is that your real tunnel that you have underground?
Yes. Well, I spent like a whole year digging underneath the hill.
Wow, more credits.
No, that was...
Don't tell our neighbor.
No, that was our conceit. The rock tunnel was our conceit. Like, everything else we did was basically really all these crazy crawl spaces that you would never believe could exist in this house are all real. The rock tunnel connecting the two houses was something that Loa developed and came up with, because she was absolutely right. She's basically like, we got to get out of the house now. We're moving in the third act. We're changing the tone of the movie. We're going somewhere else. So we're going to move out. So she first of all, she threw two things in the mix that, as a producer, when she gave me the assignment to write this, she gave me a giant list of things I couldn't do as a producer. And so I finished the script, and she's like, starts adding all these things that are violating the producing rules that she gave me. Because I'm like, well, where's this rock tunnel? We can't afford to buy this set. Where's the basement? We're in California. You know how hard it is to get a basement in California? It's like, it's not an easy location to get, especially with the budget that we were working with. But she was right from a story perspective. That's absolutely what we needed. And the basement we got at the 11th hour, to a week before shooting. It was from our realtor, who actually found this house for us. Or you found the house, but she got us the house that we're in that inspired this whole movie. She allowed us to shoot in her basement. So how's that for a realtor? That's a real realtor right there.
Yeah, that's very good. Yeah. How about the mouse itself? Was that hard to get the mouse to run down the steps? And
that was like a little challenge. I really wanted the mouse, and we had to train the mouse. But we know we have two mice in the movie because the first one died. They don't live very long, unfortunately, and our movie took a little, some time. But the good thing is, each mouse had a different skill. So, like, one mouse was really good at the wheel. One mouse was really good at following a path. Mm-hmm. And then for the cute, I really wanted that. And Brian was like, I really wanted to see the mouse go down the stairs. Mm-hmm. And then Brian says, no, we can't do it. I'm like, yes, we're going to have to find a way to do it. So we ended up building a little ramp. And then when we tested, because the first time I put the mouse on the thing and it was too narrow and she was scared. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work. So we put a thicker ramp, and that didn't work because she was sliding and she was getting scared. So I was like, okay, we can't do that. And so Brian came up with the idea of put glue and sand to create traction. And so then when it was, it's like anti-slippery material, right? So, and then she was cool. She could just go down,
So then we had to marry that into the actual staircase. So to make the lip a little longer, that's what she's talking about with the slope. We basically added 1/4 of an inch, but then we have to do it on the other side of the staircase so it matched. Mm-hmm. And it's still there on the staircase. It's never gone away. Right. So we have this additional trim on the staircase. It's, not that we're going to get any more mice to run down.
But they're cute, though. I like them.
Yeah. And then, of course, over time,
they're very smart. They're very smart, right?
Yeah, they are.
And now we have a kitty cat. And before we did have a cat, but he was old and he didn't mind. But our new cat, that would be too stressful for the mouse. I don't want to stress the mouse.
And honestly, I can't deal with these mice actors, because you put them in a movie, but then you have to take care of them the rest of their life. Yeah. It's like so they have a little part, and they basically have this automatic. It's better than a SAG retirement plan. It's like I play a part for a couple of weeks, and then you have to take care of me the rest of my life and give me a giant house and feed me every day. And so
Trista, we missed on that. Let's go back. Let's go back. Knock their door.
No.
They're gonna get the mice deal. Just go there.
I want Lawrence's lunches and dinners. I'm going back. Let's go, Trista.
On the next one.
Well, Turkey is wanting more.
Lo and I enjoyed working with this team and the rest of the people so much, but this team is really special to us that's on this call right now. And we hope to be able to do more movies in the future, and we certainly hope to continue this collaboration, because it's really great when you can make a movie with a collaborative team where everyone is like not just focused on themselves and their role, but they want to make the movie the best they can be. Trista's performance, Elif's performance, Benedikt, what he does with the music, he's very selfless. He wants to do what's best for the movie, as opposed, he never like tries to force something on there that's not appropriate for the film. In this Elif's and Trista's performance, it's like everyone's trying to serve the story in the movie, and it's really a great experience when you have a team like that. Because filmmaking is a team.
Yeah.
Filmmaking is a very much a team thing. I mean, we're directors and writer and editor, and you did the color, and we did a bunch of roles, but it's still, you need all these other people and all this other collaboration to make a movie. It's one of the reasons that I think it's one of the most exciting art forms there is, because it requires all the disciplines. All the artistic disciplines are in film, all of them, which is really exciting.
Mm-hmm. And I loved Echoes of Fear, not just because you guys are here, but no.
Yeah, what are you going to say, Neil? What are you going to say?
Which honestly, though, because I met Brian before I saw the movie, and Brian was really cool. And when I'm at festivals, that's good, but it's also like, well, I really hope I like their movie now, because I can't just say it was terrible, and I also don't want to lie and say that was great.
Yeah.
But so it worked out good because I liked Brian and I liked the movie, and then I liked everyone involved in the movie afterwards.
So if you practice what to do in this situation, you go like, wow, man, that was a movie. That was up there on the screen, and people saw it.
People who listen to the show a lot have told me like they could tell if I really like a movie because I do say a lot like I like, and not just because you're here. And so I probably shouldn't say that, because I guess if I don't say that, maybe it gives away that maybe I didn't.
Yeah, you're going to give away your tricks. You're giving away your tricks.
Right. Yeah. So where can you see Echoes of Fear? You can see it's on video demand, DVD, Blu-ray.
Yeah, well, in North America, you can see it on video demand, like all the places you watch movies at, your Google Plays and Amazons and iTunes and all that, and cables and direct TVs and that kind of thing. The Blu-ray, which we're really excited about, which actually it's out there at a good price at a bunch of places.
Yeah.
And it's got 50 5-minute extra Echoes in the Dark, which is all original content. And it's got another 20 minutes of extra behind the scenes stuff as well, besides Echoes in the Dark. So it's like a fun Blu-ray to get because it's got a lot of supplemental extra material on it. But if you're not into Blu-rays, but some people aren't into discs anymore, definitely you can stream it, get it that way.
Even though we were asked for a VHS.
Someone asked us for a VHS. Lo made a mock-up of a VHS.
Oh, I love it.
She made a VHS planner. It's actually like a daily planner, but she made it like a VHS box.
Yeah. I have some VHS tapes here.
But no, we do not have a VHS version. So, and honestly, in all honesty, I really miss the days of going into video stores. I love browsing the shelves. I miss those days completely, but I never, ever liked the VHS format because it looks horrible. I'm sorry. I know that there's a whole VHS retro thing going on right now, but it's not vinyl, people. It's VHS. It's not vinyl. So stop it. It's not a good quality way to see a movie.
Right.
Or hear a score. Or hear music.
That's right. Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Hear the score on VHS can be pretty...
Yeah.
But that's what makes it fun for some people.
And of course, overseas in other territories, check it out. See if it's in your country. I think we're like in 10 countries right now overseas, or coming out in 10. some haven't come out yet. So there's lots of ways to see it.
Mm-hmm. Very cool. Well, where can you follow Lo and Brian? Online, not like your house.
We are the only Avenet-Bradleys. We're the only Avenet-Bradleys on the planet. So if you basically Google Avenet-Bradley or look for us on Facebook, Avenet-Bradley, or Instagram, Avenet-Bradley, you're basically going to come with us because we're the only two in the world. So, yay! Woo!
But you can do Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah, Facebook, Instagram.
Stuff like that.
I have a Twitter. I don't go on Twitter as much, but Facebook and Instagram is a great way to connect. If you have any questions, we're always happy to
and even
answer
on
them.
our website, we have an email, and we can answer any questions.
Yeah, and the website's very simple. It's just echoesofear.com. So it's just the name of the movie.com. So it's easy to find.
Elif, how can people follow you, see what you're up to?
I am on Instagram and Facebook, and it is my name, ELIF SAVAS, or you can find my name on the movie, and you can follow. I have some shows coming up, some stuff coming up, and they're pretty cool.
Cool.
And
Next time I'm in LA, I would like to check that out.
sure.
We should.
Well, you have some Zoom performances you're doing right now, don't you, Elif?
Zoom performance is coming up. The date, I don't know. It's in June, and it is a monologue that I wrote, and Zombie actually directed it.
Oh,
It's a 10-minute monologue. It's quite interesting. So if you follow me, you'll see what I'm doing.
all right. Trista, how can people follow you?
I'm Trista Robinson, and I am on Facebook and Twitter, and I post updates of my work on there.
Yeah. And Benedikt.
It's easy. I've got a lot of CDs out, soundtracks, my
cool.
own work, right? And Google my name, Benedikt Brydern, on all the major platforms, Instagram, Facebook, my own website, consordino.com. So, yeah, here we are.
Very good. Well, I appreciate all of you guys doing this.
Thank
Thank
you.
You for having
Thank you.
us.
Yeah, thank you for having such a good mix. I mean, this is a great mix because there's a lot of different disciplines
Yeah.
all together, which has been fun. We've never had this group together before, so thanks for making that happen. And we've never got to talk about the movie before and not worry about spoilers. So this is thank you for putting this together, Neil.
Yeah. I had a Q&A with you at a festival, and you kept stopping, and you would look at me like, edit this part out. Edit this part out. Yeah. Which was funny to me. I don't know what the rest of the audience thought, but it was funny to me.
Yeah. Well, I still gave the answer. I trust.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that's the tricky part when you're doing festivals sometimes a year before it comes out. So it's like you don't want like everything out there. You want to kind of protect the movie, especially Echoes, because it has a lot of different journeys and twists and turns that it does, and you want people to be able to have that experience, which is great for the festivals because no one knew anything, so that was great.
Yeah, I mean that's the best way to go into a movie, I think. I know it's not always possible or anything, but yeah, because I didn't know much about it besides the poster, and I thought the poster was cool.
Cool.
Yeah, which I took a picture with. All right, so yeah, I gotta go because I'm doing another interview, but this was awesome. I really appreciate everyone doing it.
Thank you.
Bill Mosley will get mad.